Okay, hello, welcome back, Lake County. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with Sly Marinca from Cross Country Mortgage.
Hello, everybody. I thought you were going to give me a little more, but all
sorry.
good.
Well, how much introduction should I give you?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like,
roll up
whatever.
roll out the red carpet.
Yes, sir.
Christin Kaufman not in the studio today, and we got a special guest in the studio. We've got Bill Uhler. You can't hear?
It's really loud.
Oh, it's really loud?
Too loud.
Okay, we can fix that.
Yeah, we can fix that.
We can bring it down. How's that now? Is that any better? Better? Is that better? Can you hear, Sly?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Got some technical difficulties. Sorry for the late start today, folks. For those who were trying to watch the stream on Facebook, it is not connecting to the Facebook stream. So you can still stream it live on Twitch at the Life 98.3 FM, and you could also watch the streaming on our YouTube channel, but just not on Facebook today. So if you're listening live, you can hear that, and you know where to jump. But if you're not, and you're just wondering, hey, maybe Dick's show's not on this week, but it is. We've got a really special show. Last week, we debuted.
That was fun.
Our first live in-studio musician, singer-songwriter,
awesome.
Karen Shuck. She was a trip.
Yeah, she was funny.
Bill, you ever hear Karen?
No, I have not heard
No?
of her. No.
Let me bring your volume up there a little bit. She's got like a soul's rock voice.
Yeah.
She
Nice,
sang
nice.
couple of her own songs.
Zombie was
Creep.
or Creep, not
Creep,
Creep.
close.
Creep. Yeah,
Close.
yeah. Creep.
Close.
Creep was special.
There's a lot of great talent in this area for sure.
There really is.
Yeah. Gina Gonzalez is another really
what's the
popular
name?
artist. Gina Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, Gina.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She goes down with Tennessee a lot, right? She was with the Lieutenant
she
Dan
was.
band.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
a famous actor, Dan.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan, whatever.
Lieutenant Dan.
Sinise.
Lieutenant Dan.
Sinise, Gary
Exactly.
Sinise.
Gary Sinise,
Yep.
yeah, and she plays a lot up here. I see her. She used to play at Charlie's all the time. She played at the Code. I think she did Harbor Brewing up in Lake Villa.
Cool. Yeah.
Now, Bill, are you? Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you the family band?
The family band.
No, that's not you. Okay,
No,
so
no,
we got another band coming in in a couple of weeks. It's a family band.
Okay.
So we're gonna get. So Bill's only with us till about 1:30. He's gonna play some songs for us.
Great. I'd love to.
Do you do mostly covers? Do you do some originals?
Mostly covers.
Yeah, okay.
I've written maybe one or two songs, instrumental tune, but most of the stuff I do is covers.
Okay.
Favorite song to sing?
Favorite song to sing?
Yep.
I've got many. Probably How Sweet It Is. James Taylor's one of my favorites.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that song.
awesome.
JT.
Yeah.
I saw JT once at the Chicago Theater.
Did you?
Great show.
Great show, I'm sure.
A little bit before my time, but still,
Yeah.
it's timeless. It's classic.
Sure.
How long you been playing music, Bill?
You know what? I'm 68 years old. I started.
Shut up! Really?
You are not 68 years old, bro.
Yeah. I tell everybody I eat right and I take Geritol.
That's the trick. All right. So for all the listeners, you heard it here first. Geritol.
There you go. There you go. Anybody under 50 doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, true.
Oh, that's incredible. You look great for six. You said 68?
68. Yeah,
Oh,
turned
wow.
68 last month. Yeah.
And how long you been playing?
You know, I started when I was about 12, 13.
Okay.
Probably I had a guitar since I was 8, just banging on it.
Yep.
And I took lessons when I was 11 or 12, and they didn't go so well. You know, the teacher was showing me how to play, read music out of the Hal Leonard book, and it was like, row, row, row your boat, Sparkling Stella, stuff I did not want to play.
Yeah.
And, of course, we were listening to the Beatles and Hendrix and all that kind of stuff back then. So I put it down. My father was in the Army, and at the time we were stationed in New York, and we got relocated to Germany, Augsburg, Germany.
Oh, wow.
And when my first day of school there was a kid sitting outside the school playing guitar, strumming chords, and I'm like, if this kid can do it, I can do it. So I introduced myself. We became friends. He showed me some chords. He showed me this book he was working out of, and I was hooked ever since then. Yeah.
Huh. So almost self-taught.
Pretty much in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing professionally in bands. At that time, we went back to Kansas. We went from Germany to Kansas, Fort Riley, Kansas, which is an army town, if most people don't know that. But It's GI payday. The town is full of soldiers partying and having a great time.
Oh, I'm sure.
The bars are packed, so there was a lot of opportunities to play there.
Yeah.
And so that's where I got my first experience playing in bands and performing live. Still self-taught, didn't really even understand that there were scales or anything in music, you know, until I started listening to jazz, George Benson, people like that, Wes Montgomery, and I couldn't figure out what they were doing by ear. You know, it was just a little bit too sophisticated. I could not.
Oh.
And everything else, I was pretty rock music. I had not too much trouble picking it up by ear. And so I decided I want to study music. I started taking lessons and that kind of stuff. And then I eventually went to school and studied. Actually, when I moved here, I went to CLC and took all the theory classes out there. I studied with a teacher in Libertyville. Frank Portalese was a jazz teacher's name. Player, performer, Chicago guy. And so that's pretty much where I got my formal education. And so now I'm a teacher. You know, I teach in Highland Park.
Cool.
At the Music Gallery in Highland Park. Great music store.
Yeah.
They got some of the best equipment there.
Hold on. So I got to warn you. So because we've got a community broadcast license, so we can't we can talk about the businesses, we can talk about where you work, but we can't use superlatives. We can't say, you know, any type of kind of gimmicky advertisement. I didn't warn you.
Gotcha.
Whoa, that's a 1950s telephone call. Maybe that's the FCC calling us to say, oh, we're going to shut you down.
And I never have my ringer on. I am
Who's
so
that
sorry.
Bill Uhler guy?
Jeez. Silence that
That
thing.
was hilarious.
Sorry about that.
So when we talk about it, so you can talk about where you work, you can talk about what they do, but
Yeah,
it can't be like the best this or the cheapest or the most expensive or free or anything like that. We can't say. Just a warning. We usually give you the heads up before we start the show, but I know we were running hot when we came in. So, so tell us about the music store.
So, so I teach there. I've got over 50 students a week. Mostly
50
most
students
of
a
the
week?
are adult students. Most of the guys are over 50. I've got a couple of high school kids who are pretty good, but most of them are over 50. It's older guys who are close to retirement, in retirement, and maybe a lot of them played guitar when they were in school, high school, college, and just now they have the time to pick it up and they wanted to continue on with their playing. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of them enjoy blues. We like the same kind of music, classic rock, you know.
Yeah.
Not too much jazz, but mostly classic rock, blues, that kind of stuff.
So those are my favorite
Sweet.
genres, classic
Yeah.
rock.
So also we do adult bands there as well, which is a lot of fun.
What does that mean?
It's I get 3 or 4 guys together. We have a drummer, a bass player. A lot of times I'm playing bass for them, and 2 or 3 guitar players. We learn songs together. We practice for months, and then we try to we put together
Put on a show?
student performance.
Oh,
yeah,
that's fun.
at a local venue.
Super fun.
And they get to invite their family and friends. We usually get really good crowds. Some nights there's like well over 100, 150 people. Some
It's like a school of rock for adults.
Exactly.
That's so fun.
Exactly. So yeah, and then I do also beginner acoustic guitar groups,
Okay.
and that's so. In the groups, normally there's anywhere from 3 to 5 people, so they're small groups. That's the nice thing about it, you know. And everybody gets a chance to play. I mean, you're playing the whole time you're there, you know. But
Do you ever, with the adults, maybe some of the more advanced guys, you ever kind of hang around and everyone just sits and jams?
you know what? There's not a lot of opportunity for that. I do try to do that. Most of the students, I do have like. Probably, I'd say 2 or 3 students that are at that level where they can improvise and that kind of stuff. And we do. I have one guy in particular, we spend an hour, and he mainly just comes just to sit and to play together. And that's what we do. We kind of play some blues tunes and just improvise together. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So you can sit
yeah.
and jam.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I love jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz, blues,
Yeah.
Classic rock. Those are all great
Easy
for
listening.
sure.
genres.
Yeah.
Very easy to listen to.
Oh, easy to listen to. I
Yeah.
wouldn't call it easy listening. It's not like Barry Manilow.
No, definitely
I write
no.
the songs
Yeah.
and make the whole
To me, that's
world.
like listening to go to sleep.
Yeah. George Benson, one of my favorites, too. A little bit of
Great player.
On
Love that guy.
Broadway. Yeah, some really good talents back then. What's the music scene like today? It's not the same musically.
You know, the thing is that I had this conversation recently. You know, it's like when we were younger, when the Stones were popular, Led Zeppelin was popular, whenever they put out a new song, everybody knew it.
Right.
You know, you go to school and every kid knew that band. Nowadays, when we have, there's so many streaming devices and so many things, there's so many different places where people get music from.
Yeah.
That a lot of bands are well known, but they're not everyone knows them. And even the high school kids, I'll have a kid come in and and maybe want to learn a song by a particular band, and I'll think, oh, maybe this is a popular song. I'll ask the next student, if they've heard of this band or heard of this song. No, never heard of them,
Right.
And then you go online, you look on your YouTube video or something like that, and they literally have millions of views,
Right.
It's just
Really?
it's
Wow.
so different nowadays.
There's just so many outlets for it.
Exactly.
Even at like major, like I know Coachella was just going on. So one day I was like, oh, let me look at Coachella's a big giant music festival in, San Diego area. I look it up. I knew maybe a handful of the,
Really?
hundreds plus performers because
Right.
there's just so much, so many that you don't, they're not mainstream maybe, or whatever, but
Right.
Yeah,
super
it's
interesting.
the whole scene's just different nowadays. It really is. Yeah, it's gotten so big. I think that's probably the main thing.
Do you play locally?
I do. Yeah.
You have a band?
I play with a trio. It's a bass player and drummer.
Okay.
We do have a singer come in, sit in, feature a singer every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's mostly blues, classic rock kind of stuff, country rock.
What venues do you play?
Well, legendary Wooden Nickel in Highwood.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the places we play pretty regular. Yeah, Toadstool Pub in Highwood is another place. The store that I play at, or that I teach at, is located in Highland Park, which is right on the border of Highwood.
Yep.
So I know quite a few people there. I also play at Harbor Brewing Company.
The one in Waukegan or the one here in Lake Villa?
The beer garden out
Winthrop
in
Harbor.
Winthrop
Yeah.
Harbor.
Yeah, that's what I meant, right, yeah.
There's one in Lake Villa that I perform at regularly. There's Sunset Grill in Antioch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Super
yeah,
fun.
yeah. That's always a lot of fun.
Good
in the
summertime.
summertime.
Runs
All the boat traffic
Yeah.
out there, and people are
Bet
ready
you
to
draw a
party and have
crowd
a
there.
good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the Grove, Spring Grove.
Yep.
The
Same
Grove,
owners as the,
pub.
I believe, as the
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sunset.
Is it really the same owners?
They were, but now they sold
out.
out.
Gotcha.
But
They
they
actually
were.
they have a place now in Woodstock.
Okay.
Squire on the Square, which is a really nice restaurant. So I'm performing there about once, twice a month now.
Awesome.
As well. So. Yeah.
What about Captain's Quarters? Ever get out to Captain's Quarters outside on the chain? They have
You know what? I have not.
that one? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Maybe look into that one because they always have a big
They
party on
pack
the weekend.
it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
weekends are
Check
fun
it
there.
out.
Yeah. They have what do they have there? The make your own bikini contest, is that?
Yeah, that's one weekend a year, buddy. But yeah, they do make your own bikini.
How about Blarney? You ever go to Blarney and play?
You know what? I've never played out there. I think it would be a blast to play there, but I've not had an opportunity.
So I know one of our regular listeners is Brian Shaughnessy. He's one of the co-owners out there on Blarney. So Brian, if you're listening, make sure you listen. Maybe you got someone you can book for this summer.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you go out during Blarney Growl, I'll definitely come see you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anyway, we're going to get our show started. So Kristen's isn't able to be here. She's working a inspection right now. But there's, depending on who you talk to, is what you're going to get an answer for what's going on in the markets this week.
Yeah.
But first I want to just touch Sly just a little bit. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news at all lately. Seems like we've gone through another whole swell of kind of big time events that are clogging the airwaves.
Yeah.
What have we been seeing since last week? So last week, and so Bill, last week while we were sitting here, the markets were doing this. Go, whoa, it was like a
Roller
slalom.
coaster for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Huge.
With huge drops. Literally, while we were sitting here from when we started the show till 27 minutes into the show, the market swung 3,000 points.
Right.
The Dow did anyway.
Unheard of.
Never seen like that anything in my life. But there seems to have, I don't think all the losses were regained, but seems to have settled, Sly, no?
Yeah, not quite. We are not quite back to where we were, but it's definitely seeing things stabilize a little bit. I think the market's knee-jerk reaction to the tariff wars, and
sure.
We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then obviously China's reciprocal tariffs play huge impact, and the markets want to know what the rules are.
Right.
What are the rules?
And we'll
How
operate in
much
them.
money can we make?
Right.
So, but when there's uncertainty, that's what spooks the markets, and I think that's what we saw. You obviously saw that, since they put the 90-day moratorium kind of to figure things out. With most countries, China's reciprocal tariffs are a joke because they're already charging us so much that we can't sell our goods there anyways.
Right.
So for them to increase is just
No, but what
optical. That's all it is. It's just optics.
But China does a lot of beef purchases. from the U.S.
Do they? Okay.
And from what I understand is that they're not renewing the rights for American farmers to sell their beef.
We'll
in
eat our
China.
own beef, man.
And that's what I think. I think that's a great opportunity for
Right.
beef to come down.
Right.
You know, instead of $24 for a ribeye, you
Yeah.
know, at the store, you know, hey, I love an $8 ribeye.
Absolutely. So yeah, so things are. It seems like they're leveling off. We'll talk in the mortgage minute. There's a lot of conflicting news. Numbers coming out that, you know, there's very strong indications of recession, but then there's also things that are saying no, we're doing good. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the mortgage minute, and I'll give you some of the details of recent news that has come out.
Oh, okay. Did you see that terrible helicopter crash?
I did. That was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. And if you look at it, so it was a family of 5, I believe, a husband and wife, a CEO from Spain, from a major corporation. I can't remember the name of the
Siemens,
corporation.
yep.
Was it? Oh, it's right, Siemens.
Yep.
We got Siemens.
And he wasn't the
represented here.
CEO of all of Siemens. He was the
local
head of a division.
Gotcha.
But yeah. Still high up in a very large international company.
Yeah, and they went on
his family.
this tour up the Hudson River to the George Washington Bridge, did a quick turnaround, and then all of a sudden, like a rocket just fell out of the sky.
So hard to watch.
And you saw the video of it falling
Yeah,
into the water.
I did.
The tail was gone.
Right. And
The
so
rotors
is the
were gone.
rotor, yeah.
The tail was gone, and it just fell as things were falling apart. Looks like the FAA grounded the company. They said, okay, you're not going to operate anymore. But what was interesting is that the director of that tour company told the FAA, we're grounding ourselves until we know what's going on. And then shortly after that, the CEO of the company said, you're fired. I don't know if that's what he said, but they kicked him out. He says he's no longer working for us. We are not grounding ourselves. And then minutes later, the FAA said, well, if you don't have a director, you're grounded.
Right.
So it'd be
Yeah, and I
interesting.
saw the pilot was a retired Navy SEAL.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought he was
from
like
Chicago.
34.
He was a retired Navy SEAL, and
Wow.
I read quite a bit about his story, and he seemed like a really solid dude. But yeah, he was a younger guy that was in the Navy SEALs, and then he got out and started learning how to be a pilot and got certified, and that was his job. And I believe he's from Chicago too, if I remember correctly.
Really?
So he's got a Chicago tie there.
Now, Bill, you're military. Your family was military at least. Did anyone in aviation in your military service?
No, my father was he was actually in artillery. I think he started out in infantry and then later was in artillery.
Okay.
He did spend some time in Vietnam.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for your service.
Yeah. I think in the artillery, they weren't actually on the front lines, so they're like miles behind that line and firing the guns from there.
Yeah, but you're also a target when you're artillery.
His job was in a helicopter. Speaking of helicopters, and he would fly around and call in the coordinates to make sure the shots were landing where they were supposed to land.
Wow.
And he was shot at a few times, and it was pretty scary, I'm sure. But he didn't talk about it much.
Yeah.
That's what I find with a lot of Vietnam, especially.
Yeah.
Not World War II, not Korea. Vietnam, it
Yeah.
seems they don't want to talk that much about it. I knew several vets who were just like, you know what? We just left it there on the battlefield.
Yep.
I know a lot of them came back. They weren't so proud with the way the things
They were treated
happened
very
there.
poorly.
They were treated terribly when they came back.
They were called baby killers and this and that. It was awful. Yeah, I volunteered for a long time at the Level VA hospital, and that was my experience as well. That some of the older vets that were in World War II, they were super open. They would tell you stories. They would talk. But the Vietnam guys were always just kind of quiet and somber and didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to relive that. So
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, war is hell for sure.
That was definitely a hard time for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing a lot of guys didn't even really know what they were fighting for.
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
And I think that's what made a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah, it was a truly political war.
Yeah.
If you think about it, and then there's questions. Some people classify it as a war. Some people say it wasn't a war, which is all BS. It's war.
Right.
Everything that you're out there and doing, I don't care if it's declared or not. It's war.
Right.
Yeah. There's no. God bless our troops who have to do what they do every day, no matter where it is in the country or the world. So, thank you. But this helicopter comes flying out of the sky. Well, excuse me, it's dropping out of the sky, and I mean already they're starting to show some conspiracy theories.
Of course,
right? And someone sent me this video showing them pulling the helicopter out of the Hudson River, and it's solid black, but the picture of the helicopter that you see that they get into is like white and with a navy blue bottom. It took just like a 10-second Google search to find out that the black helicopter is a crash that happened like in 2019, you know, so it's like people trying to create nonsense where there's not, and I don't blame the person who shared it with me. You know, they're just sharing what was shared with them. They didn't make it, but I just wish, you know, we were just a little bit more critical and less willing to make these things louder and nastier than they need to be.
Right. Instantly, you got people, you know, just like, well, what about the, you know, the space flight that, you know, happened with the, you know, Katy Perry, and Gayle King and all that, and you know, you got all these people saying, oh, they didn't really go to space and they didn't really. You watch the video, so you gotta look this up, guys. Look this up online. There's a video of after it landed, and there's, you know, they're zooming in on the door, and you see the door open like a little bit. Then all of a sudden, you see a guy run up and like the door closes, and he breaks out this tool and he starts twisting it to like, you know, de-seal it and all that. And then, like, he opens the door, and it's like, well, wait a minute. And you could see this door open. So, like, somebody opened the door from the inside, and they weren't supposed to. So that's what's fueling the conspiracy of, like, they never made it to space. This was all a big hoax to... So kind of funny to see that kind of stuff.
I think those... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I saw a brief headline on it. I didn't even know what was going on. And to tell you the truth, there's so much AI stuff out there right now that most of the stuff I see on YouTube, especially when I see these headlines of this sea monster, all of a sudden they're finding aliens and sea monsters and everything everywhere, you know? And it looks so real, you know?
It does.
So, yeah, with the AI stuff, it's like, man, you can't be too careful nowadays. It's just with everything.
We just live in a world of conspiracy theories until they're not conspiracy theories, because that's the problem. And I think that's why so many people are like, what the heck is going on? Because there were a lot of things over the last... So, you know, a couple of years that people are like, oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist to think that. And then
it's only a theory until it's fact.
Correct. So I understand.
But it doesn't help with these obvious nonsense ones, right?
Correct.
So if we all thought a little bit more critically, then we wouldn't have to worry, right? If everything wasn't the sky is falling and proof of aliens and, you know, Elvis and a UFO, then it'd be a little bit more... I think the conversation would be a little bit more settled, a little bit more down to earth, no pun intended. But we're going to take a quick break. We got a late start, I know, but we want to get here, and then we're going to do just a couple of technical fixes, and we'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3, The Life.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. Tonight, keep that umbrella close as isolated rain showers might swing by after 10. We're in for a partly cloudy night, dipping down to 38, and a brisk west-northwest wind pushing up to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 40. Tomorrow, Tuesday, starts off with a chance of rain showers again before 10. It turns partly sunny with a high aiming for 49, and northwest winds cranking it up between 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting up to 40. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies will cool us down to around 30 with slightly eased winds.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3, The Life.
It's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round...
Close as isolated rain showers might swing by after 10. We're in for a partly cloudy night, dipping down to 38, and a brisk west-northwest wind pushing up to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 40. Tomorrow, Tuesday, starts off with a chance of rain showers again before 10. It turns partly sunny with a high aiming for 49, and northwest winds cranking it up between 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting up to 40. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies will cool us down to around 30 with slightly eased winds.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. First up, the real estate market in Cook County is experiencing a notable shift. According to a report from a leading real estate firm, the area has seen a significant increase in both home prices and the number of homes sold over the past quarter. This growth is being attributed to a combination of low interest rates and a renewed interest in urban living post-pandemic. Homebuyers are eager to capitalize on the relatively affordable prices compared to coastal markets, which has sparked increased demand. Meanwhile, in Lake County, real estate experts are observing a surge in luxury property sales. A recent analysis highlights that properties priced above $2 million are moving quickly. This trend is drawing attention from potential investors and home buyers, particularly those interested in large estates and properties with vast green spaces. The demand for upscale homes reflects a broader national uptick in the luxury market segment.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3, The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Did you know there's a house that spins around in Lake County, Illinois? Yes, you heard that right. It's not some kind of carnival ride, it's an architectural marvel. Located in the charming village of Ingleside, just a stone's throw away from Fox Lake, you'll discover the home designed by inventor Neil Gottlieb. Built back in the 1950s, Gottlieb constructed his uniquely mechanized rotating abode that sits atop an old grain-bearing ring and spins a full 360 degrees. With just the push of a button, Neil and his family could choose to enjoy a view of any side of their picturesque setting, be it the morning sunrise, afternoon cool breeze, or an idyllic sunset. Now that's what I call an ever-changing panorama. The inspiration behind this house was driven by Neil's inventive mind and his desire to achieve the perfect view. A feat of engineering, this home spins so smoothly that the interiors remain utterly undisturbed. No tipping over of furniture or teacups here. This marvel of a home, often referred to by locals as the whirligig house, was not just a hallmark of innovative design, but also stood the test of time. With its original functionality intact decades later, imagine how different this might have been if Neil had opted for a regular house. You probably wouldn't have heard about it on Weird But True in Lake County. And speaking of things you should know, this fascinating story is brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. So next time you find yourself in Lake County and someone says, the world doesn't revolve around you, now you know that in Ingleside, it might just revolve around Neil's former spinning sanctuary.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back, Lake County. This is your host, Dick Barr, here with Unlocking Lake County, back with Sly Marinca.
Hello, hello.
And our special guest in the studio, Bill Uhler.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back, Bill. I'm really looking forward to what you've got for us here. You got a couple of songs that you're ready to play?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. This first song I was going to do for you guys is an original tune called My Angel.
Oh, sweet. Hold on, let me get the camera on you. And is your monitor working? Can you see you or no?
No.
Oh, okay. This slide's going to hit your button, just so you know that your camera's on.
The power button here.
Yep. So Bill's going to play a song for us, and then we'll get more into the interview, because I want to find out more about what's involved behind the scenes of the local music gig here, because it's huge. We've got so much talent. We've got so many local bands, so many great singers and musicians.
Sure.
Yeah. It's amazing. Oh, we're having trouble getting that to come up? Yep. There we are. There we are. Okay, awesome. Great. So this is Bill Uhler. Now, Bill, where's your accent from?
I lived in Kansas for a good part of my life.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that, and I went to Florida. I was in Florida for a while.
Sure, those two will do it.
And probably because I loved Leonard Skinner, and I sang, tried to do the Southern accent so often. So I don't know if that just kind of filtered into my.
That works there.
Yeah.
Anyone playing Southern rock, that accent's going to come in real handy.
Little twang.
Okay. Oops. You know what? Let me make sure that we're off of commercial on the stream. And yes, now we are. Okay, good. I'm going to turn it over to you, Bill, whenever you're ready.
All right. Here we go. long intro in the song.
Yeah,
I loved it, though. I mean, that's some skill.
that was like a solo.
All right.
Hey! Wow, that was awesome, man.
That's the short
cow.
version of it, but usually I do it with the backup band and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I use a looping pedal, and so I have backing tracks and stuff, which unfortunately we didn't don't have today. But I was going to say, I do have a YouTube channel, and I do a lot of performance videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say I just got over 1,000 subscribers, so that
Oh,
was
wow.
kind of a nice milepost to meet.
Yeah.
And some of the videos are lessons, you know,
Yeah.
for beginner as well as advanced. But a lot of performance stuff. I videotape a lot of music from my shows and gigs and post them as well.
Very cool.
Also on Facebook page. Too,
Now, so it's just so everyone knows, if you're searching for Bill, it's Bill Uhler, Uhler, right?
Correct.
Is there any other parts of the name that help them identify it's you?
No, just Bill Uhler or Bill Uhler Music. You know, if you Google
Okay.
either one, you'll find my website and YouTube channel as well. Or Bill Uhler YouTube channel is a great way to search as well. So.
Now, is it just me or Could you hear Dave Matthews singing,
Bro,
to that?
Listen to this. My wife just texted me. I bet he's really good at Dave's Matthews song.
Oh, that's so funny! Like, I'm literally hearing Dave's voice while you're playing that.
You know what's funny? Is
Same.
I have learned some Dave Matthews songs for students that wanted to learn it, but
Yeah,
I've never
that's
ever
not
really
your-
performed them.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
I love his guitar riffs, but I can't sing like Dave Matthews. His
okay.
singing is so quirky, and so his timing and rhythm is so hard to
Yeah.
imitate. I'll forget it. Yeah.
Well, but you had that. Well, you're talking about in the vocals, I get it, but you had like a lot of syncopation in that song, and just the
Oh, for
finger
sure.
work on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
huge.
Oh,
I mean,
thanks.
that's some
Yeah,
massive
yeah,
talent
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Has anyone ever sat down to try to put words to that? Because I could hear words as you're playing it.
No, and I would love it if someone was interested in doing that. I would definitely consider that. So
You know, if Karen Shook is listening, because she's
Yeah.
a songwriter.
Yes, she is.
You should listen. In fact, I'm gonna send her that. I'm gonna say put words to this, and what you
There
two,
you go.
because she's
There
got
you go.
that soul
Yeah.
rock.
Yeah,
and
you
you've
guys
got
could
that-
collab.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Look
that'd
at
be
this,
awesome.
matchmakers here at Unlocking Lake County, but for music, not
Right,
for
obviously.
romance. But
Right, for sure,
we don't
for
put
sure.
we don't have very many
I'm happily
romantic
married.
tales.
Yeah.
No worries there.
Yeah, good.
Oh man, that was awesome. So how does talk to me about the process? How does that happen?
Okay, well, that took a long time to write. Honestly, it was different ideas I was putting together and playing around in my head. This little riff right here that I'm doing is a riff that I've been playing for most of my life. It's
almost
just something
bluegrass.
I picked up. You know what? And someone actually said that it reminded them of the Doobie Brothers song. And that's probably exactly where I got it from. Every guitar player, I think every musician, we're all influenced by what we hear.
Sure.
And a lot of times things will come out and you're playing that you don't remember exactly where it came from, and you just,
That happened to
there,
Robin Thicke, I think, right?
Yeah. Oops.
And
Sure.
one of the other riffs, that was a lick that I learned from a video. So I thought, man, that's a great lick. So I had to put it in a song somewhere. So a lot of it is just kind of you think of it like a quilt. You know, you got these different pieces, and you try to put it together to tell a story, and that's basically what it is. You know.
You know, I think what's cool about musicians more than vocalists is the vocalist is more of the, you know, the verse, chorus, where musician, you're kind of going all kinds of different places. So we heard many different elements in that song, many different sounds, different riffs, different melodies.
And I bet it's never exactly the same twice.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there's always a little something you add, or like depending on how you're feeling,
or
right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's so exciting.
Honestly, I played in a wedding band for 30 years.
Oh, cool.
And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the musicians I played with. Out of Control was the name of the band. I don't know if they're still playing or not, but we did a lot of stuff downtown, huge weddings, but anyway, it was a lot of fun. The only thing about playing in a wedding band is you have to play everything like the recording.
Right, yeah.
And
we don't want to hear your interpretation of
improvising.
nothing.
It drove me nuts, you know. It just
right.
We hired you for your sound, not your talents or artistic ability.
The band leader was real good at letting you know. It's like, play it like the recording, you know.
You know, I was so I enjoy some musical stuff, like in the you know, the show Hamilton, Sly.
Yeah.
There's a couple of songs that are really pretty cool on there. They're pretty powerful. And yesterday I happened to be listening to the one where Burr sings "The Room Where It Happened," and he just goes crazy on it. And I'm thinking, no one else can duplicate this. And if I ever went to see this show and I didn't hear that version of it, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's sad. I know. I'm kind of like a fair weather music fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think, well, I mean, most of the 80s rock or any of that kind of popular music, I would say, anything with a guitar solo. The guitar solo is actually, most of the time, it's not improvised. It's written. And something that
the solos are, huh?
I think most of the time they rehearse them, they figure them out in their head what they're going to do. But once that's recorded, people want to hear that same solo. You know, again, in the wedding band, if we were doing Journey or whatever, I had to play the solo because that's part of the song.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So people they definitely don't want to hear you improvise on something like that.
Can you do the guitar solo in Freebird? And I'm not asking you to do it now.
You know,
I'm saying, are you able to?
Yeah, I could do parts of it. Certainly, a lot of those licks are in my playing now. So,
they are?
Yeah,
Okay.
I played the song years ago, many times, and but yeah, I could kind of. Most people wouldn't know that it wasn't note for note because I did it well enough to where you could hear the nuances and the licks and the stuff like that, whether they were in the right order or anything, no one would know.
Right, sure, yeah. I know I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually,
if you
it's
got the
funny
major...
because here recently I was doing a couple of. I noticed that on YouTube, the videos that get the most recognition, the most views, are ones where if you're doing something that like AC/DC solo or whatever, you get more reviews from that. How sweet it is. So I did "Shook Me All Night Long." The guitar solo, just the guitar solo I recorded. A 60-year-old man can still rock. I've gotten thousands of views on that.
Oh, yeah?
You know?
Oh, that's
good. There's other things that I've worked really for hours and hours and hours. It didn't take me long to do that AC/DC video because I've been playing it for years. But I'll work on a video for, maybe a couple of days on trying to get this lick down or whatever and put it up, and I'll get 500 views, But so it's really people really want to hear you do stuff that they're familiar with.
Sure. Yeah, music's tough. Like, how many times does a song come out? I remember when I was a kid, song would come out. I hated it until it started becoming played more. Then it became more popular. Then I start digging it. I'm like, okay, now I like it. And I think that's true. When people are listening for music, they don't know if they like your song yet or not because it's not there. It's too new for them. So it makes sense to me. But what does you can play covers on your YouTube, right?
Oh, sure.
Is it a gray area or is it pretty accepted?
I don't really understand their guidelines on that. I posted a video I was doing Dire Straits to Salt and the Swing, and I did a short clip. I cut out the rest of it, just did the solo, and wanted to post that up. Well, it rejected my video because of copyright infringement. And but I've done other solos, and where it didn't do that. So I don't know if it's just Dire Straits label or they're,
Could be.
won't allow that. But then I did the whole song and loaded it up, and that was fine. I did an improvised solo on it, and that was fine as long as it wasn't the exact solo, I guess. And I'm thinking, it's like, how do they even know that? I mean. AI, I guess, is so quick at identifying, certain sounds or melodies or whatever it is. I don't know.
Is it possible that it was indecipherable from the original? Like, is it that good?
Well, you know what? I pretty much copy it note for note, but I was doing it on acoustic guitar, so obviously it's going to sound slightly different, you know? But as far as the melody, the timing, the notes, and all that kind of stuff would still, fit in with what he was doing. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine it'd be a label thing if they let you do the whole song,
Right.
but not just.
Exactly.
Maybe they have something where you're not allowed to, chop it up and just put bits and pieces.
Well, there is something about that. In fact, when you do a cover, I know the licensing on covers works. You can't change it. So, like, you can't use your own lyrics. You can't change the order of the lyrics. You can't change the order of the verses. You got to keep it the same. So maybe by doing it on its own, you're not actually covering the song. You're actually covering just that lick, which is maybe what they're doing.
Yeah, could be.
We didn't get any dings last week on Karen. She did a couple covers. She did "Take Me Home, Country Roads," which is she did a great version of it.
Everybody's favorite.
Yeah. Creep.
And then Creep, which was fantastic. Yeah, it's great, just great voice. And we didn't get any dings. We got one ding, copyright ding, and that's because I kept the stream going after the automation took over for the station. So it was started playing some, I don't know, Michael Jackson song for 8 seconds, and I got dinged on it. So, and what sucks about when they do that, all the monetization goes
away.
Yeah, it's like 8 seconds of Michael Jackson, and then all the monetization goes straight to the rights holder, which I don't know who owns Michael's music anymore.
Someone bought it, didn't they? Was it
McCartney?
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know if he still owns it, though. I think he had it, and he might have sold it.
I'll find out for us.
Maybe. So a song like that you wrote, do you go through the steps of copywriting it?
You know what? There is an online service, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but where you just load up your song and you can copyright it that way.
Okay.
It's a service that you pay for, and so it's legal. It would hold up in court. Like
so anyone never steals it, but you're not getting any royalties for it being played anywhere.
No. Well, I don't know of anybody playing it, so I don't know if it's been heard that much, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, that was really good. I'm seriously going to do that. I'm going to reach out to someone and see what they can make the lyrics out of that. Okay, you got another one in you?
Sure.
I'd love to hear it.
I mentioned James Taylor being one of my favorite artists, or at least this song anyway, How Sweet It Is.
Perfect.
I needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. I needed someone to understand my ups and downs, and there you were. With sweet love and devotion, deeply touching my emotion. I wanna stop and thank you, baby. I just wanna stop and thank you, baby. Oh, that's right now. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I feel so fine now. How sweet it is to be loved by you.
Awesome. Well
great.
done. Well done.
Good job. So, when you play these covers, do you also sing when you're trio, or you only?
I do sing, yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer having another singer. I've always played guitar. I never really wanted to be a singer. I like singing. I love singing. But I've always kind of known that I don't have really a great voice. I can sing in key, and I know if I'm off key
it sounded
and that
great.
kind of stuff
Yeah,
most of the
that
time.
sounded great.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's got that nice style to it. It's similar
You made
to
it your
that,
own.
That soul.
Yeah,
It's
you
got
made that
soul.
song your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
In your own way.
Yeah, no, that was great. Last week when we had Karen on, she told us that she's actually makes her living, just doing, gigs. She's got enough solo and duet work that she actually
What'd she
makes
say?
a
She
decent
played
living.
160 gigs last year or something like that?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
every other day, pretty much.
And then I looked at her site, and it looked like she also travels quite a bit. So I saw some stuff down in New Orleans. I saw some stuff in Florida on her website.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
What's it like? I got to imagine, because you guys are artists. You're not businessmen, right?
Right.
How is it trying to get these gigs? And
it's a lot of work.
I figured
really
it was.
is. You know, I often say it's going to take 10, 15 phone calls to get one gig most of the time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Unless you can get in with a good
You
one.
know what the thing is most club owners, managers, people that book, they book 6 months, year in advance.
Right.
And if they're already booked full, they just don't want to talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, they're not interested. They've got other things they got to do. And I get that. You know, I understand it. But I think the other thing is they may have a circle, a group of musicians that they normally work with, and they know what these guys can do, and they're a little bit leery about putting somebody new in. You know, so that's what makes it so tough. So really, it's just a lot of phone calls, following up, calling back, sending out videos, and eventually, you'll find it's like fishing, sort of. You throw the hook out there, and sooner or later you're going to catch one.
Are there any agencies that will do that work for you?
There's United Talent is a guy that Joey DeMarco that I've worked with a few times. And,
Yeah. And he'll go out and kind of do the legwork of getting the gigs?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how he does his business. He's got, literally thousands of venues that look to him to provide entertainment.
Okay.
So,
yeah, it's all about who you know, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
just make the
Right.
contacts
Exactly.
and
So it's kind of a warm transfer. It's not a cold call each time.
Right.
So will you actually go into an establishment and say, hey, I've got a.
I've done that. I've done that. Drop off my card, that kind of thing. And really, it's just being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
It's just the timing is everything.
right.
I do also do nursing homes as well.
Is that right?
Which is, believe it or not, it's a lot of fun.
I
always
believe it.
tell everybody I got a captive audience, and I go to
Right, they can't run away from you.
But you get a chance to play some of the old songs, "Fly Me to the Moon,"
Oh,
Ain't Misbehavin',
one of my
that kind of
favorites.
stuff, I mean, everybody loves that stuff, and you
Yeah.
don't play that out in bars much, so
Right,
sure.
So it's a lot of fun doing that. And that again, that's another hard gig to get.
Yeah.
Is it really?
They for one thing, the budget's not to
Right.
get paid a decent amount of money to make it worth doing. I mean, I do enjoy doing it just for the fact of doing it, because you are really reaching out, and there is a certain, you get a lot more than just getting paid for it. When I'm playing for a memory care unit or something like that, to see people's eyes light up, to see them singing along, clapping, and just really enjoying that hour that I'm with them, is rewarding itself. So
Yeah, I got to imagine that kind of collateral effect.
And what's amazing too, now that I'm getting older, I'm 68.
Like, I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks.
So, and I look at these people in these memory care units, and some of them are my age.
Oh, yeah?
They're late 60s, mid 70s, up into 80s. And most, I would say, the majority are probably in their 70s and 80s. Of course, a lot of them don't live past that, but.
What's it like playing guitar? Because that's a fine motor skill. What's it like playing as you get older? Does it hurt more? Is it harder to, spread the fingers?
I don't notice any of that because I play constantly.
Yeah.
So I keep up my muscle strength and that kind of stuff. But I think the only thing is maybe forgetting very quickly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's if I don't
Forgetting the
play
music.
a song for a couple of weeks and I try to play it, it's like I can get through it, but it's a lot of times it's like, ooh, man, I can't believe how much that I forgot. And I think I'm starting to notice that more as I get older. So that might be the challenge there.
Do you have kids?
I do. Yeah,
how
I have
many?
a son who's 44.
Okay.
Lives in New York, and unfortunately, we don't talk a whole lot. But
Okay. I don't blame you. He's from New York. I'm from New York too. Most people don't like talking to us.
and then my current wife, Julie, has 3 children.
Oh wow.
And they're all grown. The youngest one has a son, Noah, who will be 2 in May. We're gonna go
congrats.
celebrate his birthday. They
Yeah,
live in
fun.
Cincinnati, and then we have a son, Jesse, and his wife. They live in McHenry, so they're not far from where we're at. I'm in Lake Zurich, so McHenry's not too far.
Oh.
They have 3 boys from their marriage, and they're our grandsons, and they're great kids. We love them. We get to see them pretty regular. So
Fun.
they're great in sports. I got to say, shout out to them. 2 of them made state this
Whoa,
year.
congrats.
2nd and 8th in state. In,
Oh, wow.
in wrestling. So
Wrestling,
That's awesome.
okay,
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Well
Justin
done.
and Justin and Tyson.
Okay.
Brevard, yeah.
That's
yeah,
cool.
Great kids. Yeah.
Now, did your son or any of the other kids kind of capture your music bug?
No, I had my grandsons over to try during COVID. We were doing some homeschooling with them, and I was trying to get help them with their guitar, or hopefully that they would want to play guitar, and I was teaching them. But sports is their thing, and I get it, so they didn't follow up with it.
That's
But,
okay.
It was
Each kid has their own thing.
That's exactly right, and they may still come back to it.
Right.
It's like I said, when I was 11 or 12, I took lessons and I hated it. So
Right.
Yeah.
and later went back to it, so you never know.
See, I played piano, and I always wanted my kids to play piano, but they just never picked up the. Plus, I didn't have the patience to really teach. I'm not a teacher, so I give you a lot of credit. You've got the patience to teach. And my kids just like, no, you're just kind of a dick. So I don't want to learn to play piano. So the piano sit silent.
You still
in our
play
houses.
piano?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no. And that was something like, I was telling Karen, when I was a kid, I could learn every song. I could learn dozens and dozens of songs. As soon as I became an adult, I just stopped that ability. I can't learn a new song. I've not learned a new song since I was 20 years old.
Did you do that by ear, or?
I actually did it by math. So when we were a kid, my parents bought this old 100-year-old player piano with the bellows where you push the pedals, and it was broken. So the guy took it apart, and for a year we had the hammers exposed. And I just saw the relationship number-wise on the hammers, and I said, and that's how I learned music theory. Was just using math, and then I would do, and then I would learn to read, and then I would use that math with the reading skill. And that's how I played piano. So it wasn't artistic; it was very digital.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, now we use a number system in music all the time. Like the major scale, you would number those 7 notes, and then of course build chords on those and everything else. But it's all, you can bring it down to numbers, really.
100%. And I never learned music theory. I was always jealous of anyone who does, because that's where the real talent is. Well, and I think there's also talent in the people who play by ear and just kind of sit there, and there's no theory there. There's just, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, they both are great ways to learn. I think, for one thing, my mother-in-law was a classically trained pianist, and she played beautifully as long as she had music in front of her.
Right.
She could not play unless she had music in front of her.
Yeah.
You give her a chord sheet or something like that, she did not know how to improvise or anything like that, which was...
That's very much me.
Yeah, different world.
Yeah, I just didn't have the ear for it.
Your discipline, whatever way you learn, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Bill Uhler. A little bit more information about the local music scene, as well as maybe adorn us with another song, which sounds awesome. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. Tonight, keep that umbrella close as isolated rain showers might swing by after 10. We're in for a partly cloudy night, dipping down to 38, and a brisk west-northwest wind pushing up to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 40. Tomorrow, Tuesday, starts off with a chance of rain showers again before 10. It turns partly sunny with a high aiming for 49, and northwest winds cranking it up between 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting up to 40. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies will cool us down to around 30 with slightly eased winds.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. Let's spin the dial back to the year 1853. On this very day, April 16th, the first ever passenger train in India made its voyage. The train chugged along from Bombay, now known as Mumbai, to Thane, covering a grand distance of 21 miles in just 75 minutes. Imagine that. No traffic jams, no honking cars, just the rhythmic chugging of the iron horse. Now, fast forward to April 16th, 1972. Apollo 16, NASA's fifth successful crewed lunar landing mission, launched into space on this day. Astronauts John Young, Thomas Mattingly, and Charles Duke had a little meet and greet with the moon, as you do. Just another day at the office. While most of us were busy figuring out how to cook a decent omelet, these guys were exploring the lunar highlands. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear...
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. According to a report from the Chicago Tribune, Cook County has seen a surge in property tax appeals this year. Homeowners are contesting their property tax assessments at a higher rate, hoping to secure reductions amidst rising financial pressures. The Cook County Assessor's Office is currently overwhelmed, working to address an unprecedented number of hearings and evaluations. In Lake County, the local real estate market is buzzing with a significant new development. As reported by the Lake County News-Sun, a new housing project has been approved that will bring over 300 single-family homes to the area. This development aims to cater to the increasing population demands and is expected to boost the local economy by creating several construction jobs. Per a story in Crane's Chicago Business, the commercial real estate sector in Chicago is experiencing a revival. Companies are investing heavily in office spaces downtown as more businesses transition back to in-person.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County
With Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Welcome back to Weird But True in Lake County, where we uncover the strange and wonderful happenings right here in our very own backyard. Today's story takes us to the charming town of Volo, Illinois, where something positively prehistoric is lurking. Yes, you heard it right, prehistoric. Volo is home to the infamous Volo Auto Museum, and among its eclectic collection of cars and memorabilia, hides a story fit for a Spielberg movie. Just imagine walking through a museum of classic cars and movie props, and suddenly coming face to face with a dinosaur. In 1994, the Volo Auto Museum acquired the original animatronic Velociraptor from Steven Spielberg's blockbuster hit, Jurassic Park. Following its Hollywood debut, this 6-foot-long mechanical beast was retired to a life of leisure in Lake County, and it's been thrilling visitors ever since. It's not every day you find yourself nose-to-nose with a roving piece of cinema history, roaring and ready to pose for photos like a star of the silver screen. And if that wasn't enough to tickle your fancy, the museum continues to add a caboodle of quirky exhibits, making it a must-visit for residents and tourists alike. Who'd have thought a small town like Volo would harbor such prehistorically peculiar fame? That's your dose of the weird yet true, right here in Lake County. This segment was brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. Join us next time for more bizarre nuggets from our neighborhood.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Hello. Welcome back, Lake County. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here in the studio with Bill Uhler and Sly Marinca, the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage.
Hello.
Sly came running in. He was on a call. We got to take care of business. You know, we can't just let business slide when it's been as crazy as it's been.
Yes.
You guys. Your offices are as nutty as ours are right now.
Yeah,
right?
we're busy for sure. Phones are ringing, deals are closing, and we're having a great spring.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy the amount of, like, with all of the uncertainty in the air, the number of people who are still transacting is incredible, and unfortunately there's still no inventory.
Yeah,
and it's as bad or maybe even worse than it was last year.
I believe it, and I think it's just that year over year pent up demand of people waiting for lower rates, waiting for prices to come down, and they're just now finally saying that may not happen, especially the prices coming down. I mean, with the inventory problem, it's a simple supply and demand. There's not enough homes being built to meet the demand of our growing population. And let's face it, people are staying in their homes longer because a lot of those people, again, got the super low rates in 2020 and 2021. It ain't cheaper to leave. You know, I'm talking to several clients right now that are probably going to end up staying put because even though they could sell their house and get top dollar for it, their mortgage payment's not going to be any cheaper with the current higher interest rates than what they have now.
Right.
So, you know, I think that's just kind of exasperating the problem. And, you know, if you got a house to sell, boy, sell it, get it on the market. You're going to do really, really well. And I like I said, I think it's just the pent-up demand is now starting to just really, really explode from the last couple of years. All the people that put it off are just finally saying, you know what, we need to do it.
You know, we've got buyer clients right now who are on their third or fourth year.
Yeah.
And every year they're like, oh, next year it's going to be cheaper. You know, fourth year, they're like, okay, yeah, it's not going to be anymore.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. As you know, one client who, when she started looking, what she was looking for was like 180,000.
Yeah.
You know, now it's 250,000.
Right.
So yeah, it's a big jump.
Yeah.
So you know, but you know, lucky for her, she did good with her job, and she got a little extra income.
Right.
Put like extra money away. So it's not the end of the world. But you know, people are starting to make that realization. If you don't act now, you know, when are you going to?
Right.
But the real question is, I don't see any short-term relief for buyers. But I think, you know, look at the aging population of, you know, the boomers.
Yeah.
You know, the boomers are, you know, already started retiring, and they're at some point going to be leaving their households. You know, in the next probably somewhere between 5 and 30 years, they're going to be having to sell, and we don't have as many people coming up.
Yeah.
So if we go through this spell of construction, coupled with a retiring and aging and dying age group, what's that going to mean in 20 years? I have no idea.
Well, and I still think, though, that there's such limited inventory. Let's face it, from 2010 to 2020, so not even this decade, last decade, the amount of homes that were built compared to the population growth was horrible because of the crash, right? 08, 09, 10 just decimated the market. I personally know a half a dozen builders in our area that went belly up, including the neighborhood I live in. That's what happened. The builder went went bankrupt, went out of business, and the homeowners had to foot the burden for finishing the project basically. So if you look at that. And then now what we're experiencing now, I just think it's an ongoing problem that there is simply not enough housing to meet regular demand without any of the, extra, look at our population growth. Like our population has grown, 30, 40 million people over the last 10 years. Where are we putting those people? They're not building enough homes to meet that demand. So I think it's going to be a problem long term.
And where's the only place building right now? The only place I know building is Volo. Like they're building all
west.
new homes down along the Route 12 corridor.
So in Antioch, in my neighborhood, they
building
the clublands. Oh yeah. They have really built a bunch of homes. However, the builder had decided to not build all of the homes to sell. They are actually renting a lot of them. So they're building them to rent. And, that seems to me like it's a pretty lucrative thing. I think the rent starts around $2,900-ish, and it goes all the way up to $4,500 a month. Mm-hmm. Every single house is rented.
Oh, sure.
So, you do the math on that. It's like, oh, okay, you're going to make your money, especially because, if, they're not buying it, they're building it themselves. Their cost is a lot less than if you or I go to just buy it. So I'm sure they're going to do pretty well. And, within a couple of years, probably recuperate their initial investment. Then you have an asset there that you could turn around and sell or, keep on renting. So they're doing that at scale now, where they're putting up, even more homes this year as rentals, because it's lack of inventory, lack of housing, lack of good housing,
lack of quality housing. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Which always leads me back to where I think what people are missing an opportunity. They should be finding. When you did you ever think about trying to buy a lake house? Mm-hmm. And they always tell you, if you want to buy a lake house, something you could afford, you buy the worst house on the best lake.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the same thing with housing. They should be looking in the poorest areas to buy the best house. Yeah. And then get in and then just start fixing it up. And then over time, these neighborhoods transform into beautiful neighborhoods. Right. Look what they did in Detroit. In 2010, the houses were burning down left and right, and they were just, terrible housing stock. Yeah. They were literally erasing roads from the city because they didn't want to service the sewers and the curbs and the gutters anymore. But people were buying entire blocks, bringing their family and friends in, and they turned into beautiful neighborhoods, great communities with high dollar value homes. Sure. So, I don't think that everyone is shut out just because the housing prices might be above where you can afford. Yes, you have to reset your expectation. You're not going to buy your mom and dad's house for what you could afford. Right. But if you reset your expectation to the way we did it when we started, we bought a crappy little bungalow with it was on piers. There was no basement, and that was house one.
Yeah.
Going back now, we lost that in 2008 because your ability to buy and sell disappeared.
Yeah.
And then so people felt, well, if you're going to live in your house 12 years, you weren't comfortable accepting something that was below your standards. But I think we can get back to that. And the typical house turns over every 8 years, right? It's about 12% turnover rate a year, and we just haven't seen that in so long. But I think we're going to get back to that.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that what you said is critical too, especially for first-time home buyers. I can't tell you how many first-time home buyers, they have a budget of, X, but then they want all of these add-ons that, just keep adding to the price of the house. And it's like, you have to set your expectation. Like, look, dude, you qualify for a $250,000 house, but what you want is really $400,000, but you don't qualify for that. So you have to know that, hey, I'm going to purchase this home. I'm going to live in it 5 to 10 years. I want to get a good deal on it. And then, you flip it and you move to your next one. So I think a lot of that is the MTV Cribs generation where, I want the stainless appliances, the white kitchen, the, nice floors, the everything beautiful. And it's like a lot of people aren't willing to, to face the music and get what they can afford. So
that's why a lot of times you see in some of the neighborhoods that have some of the real substantial big homes, like 3,000 square feet, 3,500 square feet, big gorgeous stone facades or brick facades. You go in. It's laminate. It's not laminate. It's like white Formica counters. It's white appliances. It's single sheet stick vinyl on the floor. There's no ceiling fans. There's no lights in any of the ceilings. It's all like lamp with switches, because people were smart. They were like, let's get into the house we want.
Right.
And then now some of them turned that into big. They upgraded it over time. But to pay a builder to put in a ceiling fan, it's like $800 when you could do it, hire your buddy with a pizza and a beer and he'll put it up there for $50.
Right.
Anyway, we don't have Bill for that much longer, so I want to get back to Bill Uhler. Bill Uhler, listen, if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, maybe book you, or maybe, find out some of your courses, what's your website?
Website is billuhler.com. You can Google my name and get to that very easily. Also, my Facebook page, you can find information on there. I have the Bill Uhler Music Facebook
Yeah, I found you pretty
page.
easy last night. Yeah.
And then also Bill Uhler Gigs, which is another place where you can find information on upcoming gigs and that kind of stuff. So.
And you keep that updated pretty good?
I do, yeah.
How many, do you know approximately, how many gigs do you do a year?
That's good. You know what? I probably do, I would say 150.
Really?
At least, yeah.
And are gigs better when you're a solo, a duet, a trio, or are they better when you're in a band?
It's better to solo, yeah.
It's better to solo.
I don't make as much, it's hard to make as much money playing with a group as it is doing solo stuff. There's a lot more places to play, for one thing. Restaurants. Right. Most of the places that I play is a very small area. You couldn't get a band in there anyway. So, it works out pretty good just doing the solo stuff.
Yeah, and for those listening, so Bill did come with he's got a mixer and an amp.
Backup band.
Yeah, and he wanted to be able to plug in, but unfortunately we just didn't have enough time to get it set.
I did hook up the looping pedal with the backup band in.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So that's a little taste. You can get a little taste of what you might hear at a show.
Oh, perfect.
So sometimes I do solo stuff where I'm just playing just myself on the guitar, and then also I'll kid the audience. I'll say, I got a band with me tonight, and of course I'm standing there by myself. And so anyway, the band follows me wherever I go. They fit right in the trunk of my car.
That's awesome. So how is it connected to sound right now?
So I've got it running through the small amp on the floor here.
We might have to mic it.
You want me to just turn it on real quick?
Yeah, let's turn it on. Let's see what we hear.
Is that coming through, or I can turn it up a little?
Yeah, turn it up a little bit, and then we have another mic here. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right, so we got the band. They're live.
Oh, awesome. Okay, guys, come on in. We got seats for everybody.
So I'm going to do, this one's called Isn't She Lovely? And we're going to do this with the band.
All right.
You ready, band? Here we go.
Now, this is Stevie Wonder, right?
The Stevie Wonder tune, yeah. might sing along. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Just one minute. I never thought to look we'd be making one as lovely as she. But isn't she lovely? Made from love.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Awesome.
I love that. I love
Well
that kind of
done.
music too. It reminds me of like kind of strolling through like a village park, you know, in a summer evening along the riverfront. I mean, that was just awesome, man.
Yeah. It's very relaxing.
It is.
Puts you at ease, and I always see people kind of bobbing around
Yeah.
and enjoying it, and you know, singing along with it. So
And what's cool about the way you play, and I don't. Obviously, you've got your chords going, but your fingering. I can hear Stevie's voice in your fingering.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
thank you, yeah,
like it's like you could hear the tone. You could it like matches it. You get that kind of that high, nice. I don't even know what it is. I don't know enough about music to identify
I would
it.
love
but I
to be
it.
able to sing that high.
Oh yeah.
So I let my guitar do it for me.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, what gigs do you have coming up?
This weekend I'm playing at what is it? Something Black Lung. Black Lung.
Black Fox Lake or Round
Fox
Lake?
Lake. Fox Lake.
Fox Lake.
yeah.
Okay.
I play both locations. Actually, tomorrow I'm at Aspen Woods Nursing Home.
Okay.
In the morning, and then I'm not sure what my schedule looks like going forward. But
And what night was Black Lung?
It's Saturday night.
Saturday night. What time do you know?
6 to 9.
6 to 9. Okay.
Yeah.
We used to.
Fox Lake.
That used to be Blueberry Hill, and we spent a lot of time there coming in off the boat, 2 or 3 or
Okay.
4 o'clock in the morning. Jack would play the karaoke, and we would just go wild.
Nice,
It was
nice.
a crazy
Yeah.
time.
Well, they do a lot of stuff in the summertime there. They have the docks there and everything.
Yep.
So I haven't had a chance to play there in the summer, but I'm hoping to. I'm
Okay.
sure it's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he gets a good crowd. I was there once because I think he opened last year. That location.
It's just been open for a short time.
Yep,
So.
and it was packed, and they have a kitchen there too, and the food was good, so I enjoyed it. Yeah, but do you happen to know Mike Lesher?
Is piano player? Or?
He is a piano player.
You know, the name sounds familiar. Yeah.
So Mike Lesher, he's a real estate broker. He's with Remax. You know Mike, right?
Yeah.
So really talented guy.
Yeah.
Because he's got that high falsetto, and he does Journey like you wouldn't believe. And you anywhere you took your boat or along the chain of lakes, anywhere in the summer, you'd hear him singing. You would hear him across the lake. You would just bring your boat over, and he's singing some Journey. He just killed it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite genre to play out when you're trying to please people?
It would probably be like what I was just doing, you know, Stevie Wonder kind of stuff, James Taylor. Of course, My Girl, that's a huge one. Everybody.
Marvin Gaye?
The Temptations.
Oh, okay.
The original.
Yeah. Huh, let's hear that.
All right, so I'll even get the band on this one.
Oh,
Right.
sweet. And this is like your little device there that you could just kind of like on the click of a switch have the right rhythm and tempo you want?
Well, what it is a looping pedal, and basically it works like a recorder. You know, I put the bass lines and the guitar parts in there, record them, and it stores it. And then it's got a built-in drum machine. So I select the drum
Oh.
track that I want, preset, and the tempo. Record the other parts, and then I can it's my band. You know, I can just kick on the pedal, and the band's ready to go.
So it's actually sampling your guitar for the bass that it plays back
Yeah,
later.
what I do in my studio where I teach at, I just plug my guitar right into the looping pedal, and I record the parts. I do the song just later,
cool.
like if you were in a studio, basically. You just record the parts, and then you've got that handy when you want to play out. You've got a band.
Well, that's neat.
Wow, that
I
is
like
super
that.
awesome.
Technology.
Yeah.
So you guys might remember this song. This was Temptations. Were pretty popular not too long ago.
We lost you.
Oh, hold on one second.
Sorry. Try it again. There we go.
Everybody,
Yep,
yeah,
got it,
there we
yep.
go. We're live. Here we go. So this is My Girl. There's the band.
Yeah.
Sunshine on a cloudy day, when it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. Well, now I guess you'll say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? I'm talking about my girl. I've got so much honey, the bees envy me. I've got a sweeter song than the birds in the tree. Well, I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? My girl. There we go. My girl. I'm talking about my girl. My girl.
Woo! That sounded good, Sly.
Give it up for the backup vocals.
You guys should go on the road, Sly. That was really good.
You know,
man.
also on this pedal board, I don't have it hooked up right now. I do have a harmonizer
Oh,
too. So
nice.
yeah, I can get girl singers in there, everything with that thing, man.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
cool.
just fun. Yeah, people a lot of
Beautiful.
times are looking around, it's like, where's that coming from?
That's so fun.
I love that. I mean, that just makes it so much more versatile. You could just pick that up.
It's a lot of fun. You know, just to see if I just played solo acoustic stuff all night, people would. I'd hate to say this, but they probably get bored. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can only keep people entertained for so long doing
Sure.
that. So what's really nice with the looping pedals, I can change it up. I'll do some country stuff like bluegrass picking stuff. I'll do Johnny Cash, you know, of course, James Taylor, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Can you do a quick some bluegrass picking stuff?
Oh, sure.
I'd love to hear that. Okay, so while he's ducks down below the desk there, you're all set?
So we're all set. So, yeah, this one's, you know, I grew up listening to country music. My parents love country music, and this is one of my mother's favorite songs. It's Blackberry Blossom is the name of the song. So.
That was
smokes. That's fantastic. What a talent.
And can you do that for a long period of time, or your fingers get tired?
You know what? By the end of a set, I'm tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I carry these energy bars with me, energy drinks, all that kind of stuff. 5-hour energy. I'm doing that stuff every day almost just to keep my energy level up. So
That was
whatever
awesome.
I can do, you know.
See, I love bluegrass music. I don't know what it is. I just love it. You can totally bop it to it.
Yeah.
I don't blame that. I don't blame your mom. That's her favorite song. Okay, well, Bill, I can't thank you enough for coming in here.
Yes.
I know you've got I don't know if you said you had a gig or a lesson to
No,
get to.
I've got lessons. I teach over in Highland Park. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So what's the name of the place where you teach?
The Music Gallery in Highland Park.
Yeah. What's the address?
It's on Green Bay Road. I don't know the exact address.
Oh, that's okay.
Head, but
And if someone wanted to get lessons, do they contact you or they contact the music store?
Either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
And do you do private lessons there, or you kind of work for the store?
Yeah, I do private lessons there. I'm not actually an employee of the store. I'm more like a subcontractor kind of thing. But so yeah, I do private lessons there. They can contact me or the store either way to get hooked up and do private lessons. We do half-hour sessions as well as 1-hour sessions. So.
And you said you had
works best.
50 clients. Is that weekly?
It is weekly for most people. You sign up for 4 weeks. You pay 4 weeks in advance.
Oh yeah.
And then also do offer online. I do have a guy in Rhode Island. I got a guy in Florida where we just do FaceTime, and I do lessons that way.
Oh,
as
that's
well,
cool.
So, yeah.
You don't have to leave the house. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, you know, I really appreciate you guys having me here
seriously,
today.
I really appreciate you coming.
Really,
What a treat.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that was awesome.
Yeah, and the listeners love it too. It's like they don't want to hear us. We talk about all we do is talk about numbers and real estate and finances. Yeah. So I like this idea of having you guys come on, and our goal is to try to make to try to get more people coming out to hear you guys at the local
Well,
venues.
I appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
You're a hell of a talent. Stay in touch, and I hope you'll come out again, especially if you've got local gigs coming up. Give us a ring. We'd happy to have you come on, and anytime you want.
I would love to do that. It sounds great.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well
Thanks
done,
so
well
much.
done.
We're going to head to a break, and we'll be right back to finish up with Market Minute and Sly's Mortgage Minute. Take care. We'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. Tonight, keep that umbrella close as isolated rain showers might swing by after 10. We're in for a partly cloudy night, dipping down to 38, and a brisk west-northwest wind pushing up to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 40. Tomorrow, Tuesday, starts off with a chance of rain showers again before 10. It turns partly sunny with a high aiming for 49, and northwest winds cranking it up between 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting up to 40. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies will cool us down to around 30 with slightly eased winds.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3, The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. It's April 16th, and our time machine is set for 1972. While you were spreading jam on your toast that morning, two giants were sending their technology to space. Apollo 16 launched from Kennedy Space Center at 2:54 p.m., beginning its journey to the moon. That's right, to the moon. But wait, that's not our only exciting event for April 16th. Fast forward to...
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. According to a recent report from the National Association of Realtors, pending home sales in the United States experienced an unexpected increase last month, marking the second consecutive month of gains. This rise defied previous predictions of a slowdown and suggests that consumer confidence in the housing market might be on the rebound, despite ongoing economic uncertainties. Per a story in the Chicago Tribune, Cook County has seen a significant boost in commercial real estate activity. This upturn is largely due to businesses reshuffling their operations and footprint post-pandemic. The revival is particularly evident in downtown Chicago areas where vacancy rates are starting to decline, suggesting that companies are committing to long-term leases again after a period of hesitancy. Meanwhile, a new development is stirring interest in Lake County. A large mixed-use project has been approved by the local city council, which will bring residential units, retail spaces, and green parklands to the area. Local officials are optimistic that this development will invigorate the local economy by attracting new residents and businesses. The project is also expected to create numerous job opportunities during its construction phase. Over in McHenry County, rising property values are catching the eye of many would-be investors. Data from recent property assessments show an average increase in residential property prices by nearly 10% over the previous year. This surge is attributed to the county's growing desirability, spurred on by its balance of rural charm and easy access to urban amenities. Local residents and realtors are optimistic but cautious, monitoring how these rising values may impact housing affordability for long-term residents. In global real estate news, China's real estate market is grabbing headlines as regulators move to ease policies in hopes of stimulating activity. According to reports from the Wall Street Journal, the Chinese government has unveiled new measures targeted at supporting struggling property developers and boosting buyer confidence. These actions are seen as critical steps to avoiding a prolonged downturn in the sector, which could have far-reaching implications for the global real estate market. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty. That's it for now. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Welcome to another fun segment of Weird But True in Lake County, where we bring you the oddest tales from the heart of Illinois. Today, we've got a peculiar piece of history that involves a whole lot of rudder, speed, and, well, a landlocked lighthouse. That's right, we're talking about Lake County's very own Waukegan Harbor Lighthouse. You see, it all starts with something rather unusual for a lighthouse. It's not located by the ocean, but stands proudly in the Waukegan Harbor. Folks back in the day believed in setting tall markers so ships could navigate Lake Michigan, avoiding mishaps in the dark and foggy weather. But here's where it gets really interesting. This lighthouse, constructed in 1889, wasn't originally considered a dazzling structure. In fact, this height-defying creation was made entirely out of cast iron with a studded exterior, towering at a mere 39 feet. Not too tall for a lighthouse when you think of the grandeur of others. What makes it genuinely weird is how it served its purpose on a freshwater lake rather than the salty seas. With the notorious Chicago fogs rolling in, it's said that the lighthouse keeper back in those days used to guide wandering seagulls back home, believing they were sailors off course, attracted by the gleam. Sounds a bit bird-brained, doesn't it? And if you're planning on catching a glimpse of this historic oddball, head down to the Waukegan Harbor during the golden hour as it still operates, albeit automatically now. Quite the highlight, I must say, for lighthouse enthusiasts and curious bystanders alike. Speaking of illuminating your path, let's take a quick pause for our sponsor message. Brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. Stay tuned for more fun facts in Lake County, and remember, truth can be stranger than fiction. Who knows, you might just find your next home near a surprising piece of history. Until next time on Weird But True in Lake County.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back, Lake County. This is your host, Dick Barr, here for our final segment on Unlocking Lake County. I'm here with Sly Marinca.
Hello, hello.
I want to thank Bill Uhler, who is in the studio today. What awesome. I love having the talented people in here.
It's so amazing.
It is.
Yeah,
it's
just
cool.
Seeing that.
It's like we got our own little private concert.
Right.
And especially knowing that all these guys, they play locally. So you can go out and see them anytime you want at all the different venues.
And I did find his website, Bill. It's Uhler is how he spells that. So
okay,
look him up online, everybody.
Awesome. So thanks again, Bill, for joining us, and good luck on your lesson. We're going to finish up the show. We put things a little bit out of order today so we can get Bill in because he had to leave early. But we still owe you a market minute because things have been nuts. So let me switch over to my market minute screen. There we go. Yep. And then I've got to get my super fancy market minute intro. So here you go.
Stay on top of the market with Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Hello, Lake County. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with this week's Market Minute, where we're just seeing a ton of activity week over week, month over month, and year over year. So starting with Antioch, where they've done $4.7 million in sales this past week. Month over month, that's an increase of 23%, but year over year, a sharp increase of 23%. Month supply of inventory is 1.4. Lowest sales price a home sold was $175,000 with a high of $718,000, but a nice affordable median of $397,000. That's a year-over-year increase of 8%, though. So don't wait. Average market time slowed down a little bit these past 4 weeks, and that's the sitting at 50 days, which the prior 4 weeks was 16. But I'll tell you specifically why that's happening. There's still, even though the market's hot right now, there's people trying to take too much advantage of the market, and they're sitting out there on prices that are over what the buyers are willing to do. So don't play games with the pricing strategy on this. Sellers who are pricing their property in the market range value are seeing increases. People sitting out there on these kind of pipe dream prices, they're seeing their homes sit for a while and they start coming down. A lot of times they wind up selling below market value because they've been sitting and aging so long. So be careful about your pricing strategy in the market. Now headed over to Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside, where this week they saw $3.6 million in sales, a 245% increase over last week. Down 57% month over month, but a year-over-year increase of 20%. Only 3/4 of a month supply of inventory. $160,000 was the lowest priced home sold, with $589 is the high. $372,000 is the median sales price, and that's an increase of 3.7% over last year. Average market time in the Volo, Fox Lake, Ingleside area is 28.6 days, which is slightly slower than the prior 4 weeks, where it was just about 2 weeks. Active listings on the market there is 19. New listings is 12. New contracts is 10. And closed listings is 9. Now on over to the Grays Lake Wildwood area, where they did a whopping $5 million in sales this past week, which is a week-over-week increase of 56%, year-over-year increase of 9%. Just under 2 months supply of inventory in the area. $284,000 was the lowest priced home sold, with $850 as the high. $469,000 is the median, which is an increase of 8% over last year. 24 days is the average market time, about the same as it was last month at 21 days. They've got 38 active listings this week. New are 12. Contracts new 10, and closed listings 2. Now on over to the Gurnee Wadsworth area, where they a little bit slower this week than last week. We're 2.5 million sales this week, down 7% from last week. Month over the month, 52%, but a 13% year-over-year average, increase. The month supply of inventory is 3/4 of a month, with a $161,000 is the lowest priced home sold, with a high of $735, and a median sales price just under $400,000, which is only about 1.5% year-over-year increase. Average market time is about a month and a half compared to the prior month, where it was only 10 days. They've got 20 active listings, with 10 new listings this week, 7 new contracts, and 4 closed listings this week. Now on over to the Lindenhurst Lake Villa area, which is our backyard. Only $2.5 million in sales. That's because there's no inventory, though.
Right.
39% drop of 39% from last week. Month over month drop of 61%, but a year-over-year increase of 22%. Only half a month supply of inventory. So you notice in all these communities where there's no inventory, we're seeing the drop in sales. And that's, if you're shopping, you're seeing it because you're hitting multiple offers everywhere you go. Lowest price home sold was $135,000 with a high of $599. Median sales price of $404,000. Average market time is only 16 days, about the same as it was last month. 20 active listings on the market right now, 5 new listings, 6 new contracts, and 10 closed listings this past week. Now finishing up with the Round Lake area, where they did $3.5 million in sales, down 13% from last week. But again, you'll see when we look at the inventory, you'll see why. Month over month decrease of about 36%. year-over-year increase of 14%. Month supply of inventory only 3/4 of a month. Lowest price home sold was 114, high of 475, and a median sales price of 333,000, which is a 9% increase over last year. Average market times only 25 days. 18 active listings, only 7 new listings, 11 new contracts. So anytime there's less new listings than contracts, you know you've got an inventory problem. And 5 closed sales this past week. Sly, I know you and your team are just flooded with approvals right now and contracts. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. We are getting lots of transactions, but we're also getting a lot of those buyers that aren't able to get their offers accepted, possibly because of the multiple offers. Especially if you have a buyer that maybe is doing an FHA loan or a VA loan. We're kind of seeing a little bit of that again, where those offers are not getting accepted as readily as they were even 2 months ago when we were here.
Right.
We talked about that kind of changing, and maybe the market was softening, but now it's gangbusters. I mean, the statistics speak for themselves. I mean, the prices are going up. There's not enough housing. There's not enough homes listed to meet current demand. So and I mean, I know you're seeing it too with your recent activity and how many offers you're getting on your listings. And
we put up a ton of new listings the past couple of weeks, and what we're seeing, I think we had 13 open houses in the past 2 weeks, and we're hearing what the agents are telling their buyers as they walk their buyers through if they're just coincidentally scheduled a showing during our open house. And the agents who are successfully getting their offers accepted are the ones who are counseling their buyers. Go in strong.
Yeah.
As strong of an offer as you can get.
Right.
We're seeing people waiving inspections again, which, we never recommend. But if you can get in there with a contractor, an inspector before your offer, that's a great idea. You can't do a full inspection.
Sure.
But there's certain types of houses, especially the newer style, where the chances of there being a negative, like something there where there would be a deal killer is low. But buyers are weighing their options on that.
I mean,
if they need that
you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, and we just closed a buyer here recently that was living in a hotel.
Yeah.
Because he had 5 or 6 offers that he had put on homes that he had a home to sell. And nobody would accept his offer. And he finally said, you know what, I'm done with this. Sold his house, got multiple offers, sold way over list price. And he took some of that money and literally moved into a hotel for about a month and a half and, put his stuff in pods and storage. And he closed this last week, finally, on his home that he purchased. So as soon as he got rid of the home sale, first house.
It is a tough thing. Is if you're shopping for a house and especially if you haven't listed it yet, the chance of getting your offer accepted is so remote.
Yeah.
And it's hard because the buyer clients are like, well, I want to go look, I want to go see. I said, yeah, but you might fall in love with that house, and no chance that the seller's going to accept it. It's not a 0% chance.
Yeah. So I was going to say, because I do have one that
Yes.
happened, but that's because the sellers have nowhere to go.
Right.
They haven't found a home yet, so they're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we want to close at the end of June, which hopefully will give them enough time to find their home. And so it is, it's worth looking, but just be prepared that if you're going up against a bunch of offers, very unlikely. And in fact, so one thing that we were going to talk about even in the mortgage minute just for a minute would be recasting. So here's a thing that we've been kind of doing and helping people with. It's where you purchase a home. If you qualify without a home sale contingency and you have, let's say, 5% down, you qualify for a conventional loan. You could purchase a home as long as you qualify for both, and then after you sell, pay down your mortgage and recast or re-amortize your payment over the remaining term to lower your payment, because obviously your payment's going to be higher than what it normally would if you're only putting down a minimum down payment. A lot of buyers are saying, okay, yeah, let's do that. In fact, I got a contract today for people that's what they did. They said, we don't want to sell our house, and especially with the market losses we've seen over the last couple of weeks, these folks don't want to tap into their investments now that the market took a 10% haircut. Now it did come back a little bit, but back down again today. So they're like, you know what, and they don't plan on having a mortgage long term anyways, because they're probably going to get enough to cover that. So it's a good thing to explore all of your options if you qualify. and obviously most people don't want to make 2 mortgage payments.
Right.
So you got to be prepared for that. But, that could be something that you could consider to help your offer get accepted if you have a home to sell.
That's a great idea because the biggest poison pill on a contract is that home to sell.
Right.
Now, if your home is already under contract, you got a much better chance. Like if you've already sold your home and you're just waiting for it to close, especially if it's after attorney and inspection review, especially if it's after appraisal, the chance of getting a seller to accept it, as long as it's a strong offer, is high.
Yeah.
But if it's not yet on the market, there's just very little chance. And then you talked about Sly, the seller who did accept it in a situation where the seller didn't have someplace to go. Well, a lot of people in the market don't realize now we now have home sale contingencies. We have the opposite.
Right.
We have home buy contingencies. This is a new form that we just came out back in August of last year, where sellers who are afraid of going on the market and selling, what happens if I can't find a place to buy?
Yeah.
There's now a reverse home sale contingency.
Right.
So if your seller can't find a place to buy, they don't have to sell it to you.
Right.
And that's problematic because you're making your life decisions on that house as if you're going to own it, but you may not. And for years, for decades, for 100 years, we've had buyer home sale contingencies where the buyer didn't have to buy it unless he sold his house. But now we have seller doesn't have to sell it if they don't find a house to buy. So that can create some problematic turbulence in our market. We're going to start seeing how that plays out as more sellers start to take advantage of those.
Sure.
Can you imagine a situation where you're stacked 6 or 7 transactions and the top seller doesn't find a house to buy?
Right.
And then all 6 or 7 underneath that?
Yeah. And we've certainly seen it on the flip side, where a buyer 3 down the road can't get their act together and close on time, so then it delays. So I could see that being a huge problem for buyers that are hey, I need to move. I maybe gave my landlord notice. I maybe whatever.
You know where that could be a huge problem is, especially in the military folks.
Yeah.
The military folks, they've got orders.
Right.
They have to be here.
Right.
They have drop dead dates where there's no screwing around.
Absolutely.
And if they get pushed back because of one of those reverse home sale contingencies, that could be problematic.
Absolutely.
And they will be living in a hotel.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's this week's Mortgage Minute. We'll have more information next week as we learn more. But we got about 15 minutes left. So let's head over to Sly, where our favorite segment of the show, Sly's Mortgage Minute.
All right.
Here is the Mortgage Minute with Sly Marinca and Cross Country Mortgage on Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
All right, everybody. A lot of conflicting information out there, a lot of statistics that are coming out that just kind of scratch your head and wonder what's really going on. As far as mortgage rates, the current 30-year fixed national average is sitting at 6.89%. That's down from 7.16%, which was the high about a week and a half ago when all the tariff craziness was going on. It's still significantly higher than the 6.17% we saw at the beginning of April prior to all of the tariffs. Remember, the markets were really heading downward and rates were coming down nicely. The 10-year Treasury yield was below 4%. Actually, 2 weeks ago when we were here on the show, that it was, it had dipped below 4% for the first time, and we were like, wow, this is awesome. Very, very short-lived. The 10-year Treasury is up to 4.31 right now, but again, it's significantly lower than it was a week and a half ago when it was 4.55. So rates moving downward slightly. And the current odds of a Fed rate cut in May are just 14%. So, but
not zero.
Yeah, it's not zero, and obviously that can change. Odds of a Fed rate cut in June now are sitting at about 61%.
Oh, that's good.
So, the Fed, earlier in the show, we were, talking about how the market was rebounding nicely and coming back, the stock market. And while we've been here, in the short hour and a half we've been here, hour and 50 minutes, of course, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down about 700 points right now because the Fed chief, Jerome Powell, in a speech today was basically signaling that the Trump tariffs are going to put some tension on inflation. They're afraid that inflation is going to creep up with higher prices.
Which is weird because the real inflation right now is low.
Yeah, it is trending downward, but here, so like retail sales came in much stronger than expected in March. And if you look at the statistics about that, auto sales and auto part sales were up 5.3%. people are buying cars ahead of the tariffs, and it's causing a spike. So it's like the numbers, that's not real growth. That's not like, long term, like that's going to happen. It's just people are like, you know what, these tariffs are coming in. We need a new car. We better get it before
it's
that
buying our
kicks
milk
in.
and bread before the snowstorm comes.
That's exactly what it is. So some of these numbers are off a little bit, and they're a little bit conflicting, in part because we're seeing some of these abnormal things that are going to go back to, obviously, normal at some point. One interesting thing that I saw that is real estate, rentals. Realtor.com reports that rents actually fell 1.2% year over year, which we haven't seen that in a while. Rents just kept going up and up and up. And actually, that was one of the things that, a lot of times it was cheaper to buy and pay a mortgage than it was to rent. And it still is, but that gap is now starting to close. I think landlords are realizing that, you can't just keep, people are going to, buy homes. They're not going to keep renting from you if you keep jacking up these rents. So interesting to see that. One of a strong indicator for recession is industrial production. That fell 0.3% in March. So factories aren't producing as many goods. Apparently, because that was a pretty steep drop off. Obviously, some of that might be seasonal, but nevertheless, industrial production down 0.3%. Inflation is coming down. We saw the report for March inflation came in lower than expected. Normally, that would cause mortgage rates to drop, right? Like the whole last couple of years, the Fed has targeted inflation at 2%, and that's really what that's why the rate hikes happened is to tame inflation, and that did seem like it was happening, and it still does, at least as of March. But again, I think a lot of this is fear on what are these tariffs, if and when they are implemented, going to do.
Right.
You could, and we've talked about, that as well, where, we keep seeing all these countries are kind of coming to strike trade deals to avoid the reciprocal tariffs. So tariffs may not impact, inflation as much as possible if we could, really shore up some of these deals with our trading partners and again, make it a more, level playing field where they're not charging us tariffs that, we're just trying to reciprocate and make it a level playing field here, in my opinion. And if that doesn't happen, then obviously inflation looks like it'll continue to go down. So
it's like you pointed out, though. It's as much of the uncertainty
that's all it is
that's driving it than it is the actuality.
Right. Yeah. So as of right now, inflation is heading downwards. So we know that. But will it continue, and will it be enough? And the markets right now are saying no Fed. Only a 14% chance of a Fed rate cut in May, but a 61%. So by June, I would say, we'll know a little bit better if inflation is creeping back up, because you'll have April's data and May's data, so I think we'll just keep an eye on that. And, I think when rates do come down, I think it'll be the floodgates are going to open. There's a lot of buyers that want lower rates, and we saw it, even for those couple of days, my phone rang off the hook for people wanting to refinance. And of course, nobody ever pulls a trigger because they're like, oh, it's only 6.125. I want 5.5. It'll be there next week. And then it doesn't happen. And then it's like, okay, well,
7.
Now we got to wait. So if you are thinking about refinancing and you are in a position to refinance, if you have a rate anywhere above 7%, I would just have everything kind of lined up and ready to go, because it may be a very short window with all these wild swings, and who knows what's going to happen with the tariffs if the markets are going to continue to react this way to lower inflation. I would definitely be ready, have your paperwork ready to go. So, you see the rates take a dip, you're able to lock in and take advantage of a lower rate.
Talk to me about the mechanics of that. Can people file their application and get the whole process started, and then just wait until that happens and then rate lock execute?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we have borrowers that literally are doing that, where they just get us all their paperwork. We have it all just sitting in their file ready to go. We don't typically underwrite it. Just because underwriting we need updated pay stubs, updated bank statements. So it's basically you're doing the work twice. So we'll typically just hold on to the paperwork. We could send out the application,
but you get your lock.
So we wouldn't lock until the rates drop, right?
Right.
So once you lock, that's when we full steam ahead.
My point being, though, you get everything set, even
Correct.
though you don't underwrite.
Yep.
As soon as that rate drops, I strike, I lock.
Yep.
Then
Underwrite, close.
underwrite,
Yep.
appraisal, right?
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing too. If you recently purchased your home, and especially if you have a good bit of equity, there's a chance you don't need an appraisal because we're getting a lot of appraisal waivers on refinances. As long as we're not like putting in there that the house is worth 50% more than you paid for it 2 years ago, but within reason. We are seeing, especially for the stronger borrowers with the good financials, we're seeing a lot of appraisal waivers on refis. So good chance you don't even need it.
We're seeing them on purchases too.
Yeah,
and surprising ones.
Yeah.
So we got a couple ones where the sale of the house was significantly higher than the highest ever in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And the appraisal waiver came in. We were shocked.
I scratch my head because there are situations where I'm like 100% sure there will be an appraisal waiver, and then you run it through every which way possible 900 times, and there's no appraisal waiver. And then there are times where you're like, oh yeah, no, we're going to need an appraisal on this one, and the system comes back and says, no, we accept the value. So very interesting. They have their own algorithm, and it's a system, a computer system that decides. But I always tell people, and we have those borrowers that even though they got the appraisal waiver, they still want the appraisal, which is fine. I work for the borrower, so whatever they tell me is what we do. But I don't recall ever one time an appraisal coming in low that would have had an appraisal waiver anyways and still got the appraisal. So some people just want to make sure they know that the house is worth what they're paying for it, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But
yeah, my challenge with that, and we don't advise one way or the other on whether or not get appraisal. That's not our job. But it seems to me to be somewhat waste of money because, especially when you're a competing market, that appraisals look backwards.
Yeah,
they can only tell you what's the average or value is for the past 6 months, not what it is today or tomorrow. And that's the problem I have with appraisals.
Yeah.
Market analysis I think are just as useful for determining if you're paying enough for that property without spending the $500.
Right. And like I said, I mean, only the strongest borrowers in the strongest situations are getting the appraisal waivers anyways. So
Right.
I mean, the system's not stupid. You can't trick it and say, oh, we're gonna flop even on refis. Like I said, we'll get it where someone says, oh, my house is worth X amount, and we'll put it in there, and the system will say, no, we need an appraisal. But then if you lower that to closer to what it probably really is worth, it'll come back and say appraisal waiver. But the pricing's better the more equity you have. So it's kind of like, you got to weigh your options.
Oh, so you're saying that they could use that appraisal to increase their equity if, let's say, the appraisal came in higher?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, because if you're at a 75 LTV versus an 80 LTV.
But you know as well as I do,
pricing.
appraisals rarely come in over contract value.
But I'm talking about on refis mainly.
On refis?
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
I'm sorry.
But,
yes, okay.
But, yeah, normally you're right, but I can tell you lately, my mind has been blown, like absolutely blown, where I've seen appraisals 6 figures plus above what people are. Yes.
What?
Yes, I'm telling you, we had 2 this month that were 6 figures plus what the people were paying for the house, to where it's like,
so the buyer volunteered that extra money to the seller.
right. But I mean, they were both situations that, I mean, the people just got screaming deals, and they were homes that, in awesome neighborhoods, but that needed a little bit of work. So it's not the most beautiful home. So a lot of buyers are, if you're buying a $600,000-$700,000 house, you want it to be done.
Yeah.
Well, my buyers don't care; they'll fix it themselves. And it's in a neighborhood where everything's $1 million.
Right.
So I mean, and then the other one was also similar situation where the house was kind of dumpy on the inside, so they got a screaming deal on it that people just wanted out. And both times, I mean, both buyers are walking into 6 figures plus equity. So I'm like, man, why can't that happen to me ever?
I know, right? Remember, it's until you sell, it's only on paper.
Correct.
Yep.
So
want to thank you, Sly, for joining us, and I want to thank again Bill Uhler at BillUhler.com. That's UHLER.
Yes, sir.
He was a fantastic talent. He was here in the studio playing some original songs and some cover songs, and he did that bluegrass song, which was, I think, that was awesome. I'll definitely go try to. He should play at the Civic Center because they have that outdoor pavilion area where you just kind of, I think it's like Thursday nights throughout the summer. Right now, I'm just trying to kill 25 seconds because I don't have enough time to play the outro song. I'm just going to hit right until we go to the legal live ID. Sly, quick, what's your phone number?
847-722 1775.
And if you'd like to reach me, I'm at 847-644-1154. I want to thank you for joining us, Lake County. We'll be back next week. Until then, have a great week. 1 second. Go.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Programming support for WRLR is made possible in